In this video, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about the first generation of Bakugan. This will not be a guide on how to play. I'll just be explaining some of the terms as well as some general information to help you in your Bakugan journey. I'll leave timestamps in the description to skip to certain points of the video, as well as any corrections or things I forgot to mention. And with all that out of the way, let's learn some stuff about the greatest toy battling game of all time. Bakugan currently has 3 generations. These are different from the many series that each gen is divided into. The first series, called Bakugan Battle Brawlers, released in 2007. In 2018, it had its first reboot, Bakugan Battle Planet, and then another reboot in 2023, just called Bakugan. But we don't talk about that one. In 2007 in Japan and 2008 in the US, the first series of Bakugan was released alongside the anime, both called Battle Brawlers. Shortly after, in 2009, the second series New Vestroya came out, then Gundalian Invaders in 2010, and the final series Mechtogan Surge in 2011. Each installment introduced new Bakugan, cards, and some entirely new game mechanics for better or worse. Bakugan come in 6 different colors, known as attributes, each one representing a different element. There's Pyrus, the fire attribute, Aquos, the water attribute, Ventus, the wind attribute, Subterra, the earth attribute, Chaos, the light attribute, and Darkus, you're not gonna believe this, darkness attribute. You might notice that every Bakugan has a number printed inside of it with the letter G next to it. This is the Bakugan's G power, which is basically its strength. When 2 Bakugan battle, both of their G powers are added up after applying card effects, and the one with the higher G power at the end wins. In Bakugan, there are 2 main types of cards, gate cards and ability cards. Gate cards are the thick metal cards that look something like this, but their exact style depends on what series they're from. Gate cards come in 3 different colors, gold, silver, and copper, sometimes referred to as bronze. Gate cards are placed inside the play area and allow a Bakugan to open when their magnet rolls over one. When a Bakugan opens on a gate card, it's called a stand. When 2 opposing Bakugans stand on the same gate card, the card is flipped over and a battle begins. The winner of the battle takes the gate card and puts it in their use pile. Ability cards, on the other hand, are thinner paper cards that look like these. Ability cards also come in 3 colors, this time being red, blue, and green. Unlike gate cards, which are placed on the field and only come into effect when a battle begins, ability cards can be played at any time as long as you meet the criteria on the card. Ability cards can do a variety of things, from giving your Bakugan extra Gs, changing its attribute, or even changing the locations of Bakugan on the field. One more thing to note is that some cards have a number in the corner that looks like this. This is a mechanic introduced in the 3rd series Gundalian Invaders, where the current power level must be equal to or greater than that of the card in order to use it. To quickly explain what that means, the power level is the total number of gate cards in all players' use piles. So if I have 2 gate cards in my use pile and my opponent has 1 in theirs, the current power level would be 3, so we would both be able to use cards with the power requirement of 3 or less. There are many different ways to play Bakugan, and I recommend looking up a tutorial if you want to learn a specific one. I'll show you what the most basic deck looks like, but just know that yours might be a bit different depending on the version you want to play. A standard Bakugan deck consists of 3 Bakugan of whichever attributes you like, 3 ability cards, 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 green, and 3 gate cards, 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 copper. The only additional rule is that you can't have 2 of the same exact Bakugan in your deck. For example, you can have 2 Fear Rippers on your team, but they both have to be a different attribute, so no duplicate Bakugan with the same attribute. But at the end of the day, it's just a funny toy game, so as long as you and your opponent are on the same page, you can play with whatever rules you want. If you're familiar with the different generations of Bakugan, you probably know that Bakugan from Gen 2 and onwards are slightly larger than the ones from the original series, but Gen 1 Bakugan actually come in 2 different sizes. For the first few waves of Battle Brawlers, Bakugan were 28mm in diameter, commonly referred to as B1 size. But after the release of New Vestroia, B1 Bakugan were phased out in favor of the larger 32mm B2 size. Spin Master never gave an official reason as to why B1 Bakugan were phased out, but it's speculated it was because the larger balls would be more durable, easier to handle, and less of a choking hazard. But when it comes to using them in a game, size doesn't matter, so you can have either B1 or B2 Bakugan in your deck. Deca Bakugan also exist, which are giant Bakugan that aren't normally used for playing, but wow, those are some big balls. One thing you might have heard before if you've watched any videos about Bakugan is the term open core. That just refers to the first couple batches of battle brawlers that had exposed bottoms which let you see the magnet inside.
When I ripped my pants.
Besides that, open core Bakugan aren't any different from regular B1 Bakugan and were eventually replaced by Bakugan with fully sealed bottoms. Special Treatment Bakugan are the holographic Pokemon cards of Bakugan. There are a ton of Special Treatment variations, but they're all just fancy reskins of already existing Bakugan. However, some Special Treatments have a special effect on gameplay. For example, Bakugan with the Pearl Special Treatment get to choose between the gate card bonus for their Bakugan's attribute, or they can choose to gain the highlighted gate card bonus instead. There are too many Special Treatment variations than I would like to include in this video, but I'll leave a link in the description to a video that goes over each of them if you're interested. Gimmick Bakugan are any Bakugan that have a special feature in addition to opening up like a regular Bakugan. Unfortunately, most of these Bakugan tend to be slightly more expensive than their non-gimmicky counterparts, but they're still incredibly cool, and some Bakugan gimmicks include wheels that spin when a Bakugan opens that randomly determine its attribute or G-power, special attack Bakugan that spin after they open, Baku Tremor Bakugan which rumble after they open, and Bakugan Sky Raiders which have spring-loaded feet that launch them into the air when they open. There's also Bakugan that have metal bits, Bakugan with multiple magnets, Bakugan that have a gyroscope inside, Bakugan made up of a bunch of smaller Bakugan, Bakugan that light up, Bakugan with interchangeable parts, Bakugan that shoot discs, and Bakugan with battle suits. I think that's all of them. I'll leave a link to a video going over every Bakugan gimmick in detail in case you want to learn more about a specific one. That was all the important information I had to share about Gen 1 Bakugan. The next section of the video will be about the various non-Bakugan support pieces. Trap Bakugan are support pieces that function like Bakugan, but they come in a bunch of different shapes. They were introduced in the second series New Vestroia and open to reveal hidden attribute symbols instead of G-power. Under the New Vestroia rules, you could have a 1 Bakugan trap in your deck in addition to your 3 Bakugan. Using it during a battle with a Bakugan of the same attribute lets you change the attribute of your Bakugan to any of the revealed attributes inside. Also introduced in New Vestroia, however appearing more prominently in the third series Gundalian Invaders, Battle Gear are additional support pieces that can attach to compatible Bakugan, giving them additional G-power or influencing the game in another way as directed by its reference card. Unlike Trap Bakugan, the attribute of your Battle Gear does not have to match the attribute of the battling Bakugan in order to be used. But if your Bakugan's attribute matches one of the attributes listed on the Battle Gear's reference card, you can choose to activate its ability. Battle Gear have one more kind of symbol on them, corresponding to each type of gate card. If you play a Battle Gear that matches the type of gate card you're battling on, you get to choose any of the abilities listed on the reference card regardless of your Bakugan's attribute. Gundalian Invaders also increase the support piece limit to 2 per deck, but you can only play 1 support piece per battle. For some reason, these count as support pieces. Cool. Anyways, Gundalian Invaders introduce the ability to evolve your Bakugan. Similarly to Battle Gear, Special Evolution Bakugan each have their own reference card. If the current power level matches or exceeds the requirement on your reference card, you can swap out the basic Bakugan listed with its Special Evolution. Special Evolution Bakugan tend to have much higher G-power than their unevolved counterparts. However, evolving a Bakugan ends your turn, so you'll have to decide whether evolving is worth it. The final series, Mechtogan Surge, introduces another kind of support piece, Mobile Assault Vehicles, which is the most awesome name for a toy I've ever heard in my life. Mobile Assault Vehicles work by placing a Bakugan with the same attribute on top and rolling them both onto a card. If the type of gate card you land on matches one of the types listed on its reference card, you gain its effect. If the reference card doesn't match the type of gate you land on, the vehicle is destroyed, which means instead of being sent to your used pile, it's taken out of battle and cannot be used for the rest of the game. BakuNano are a special kind of support piece introduced in Mechtogan Surge. You can have up to 3 of them in your deck in addition to your 2 other support pieces. BakuNano can be used during a battle, but they can only be played if they match the type of gate card you're battling on. BakuNano just give minor G-Power bonuses, but unlike other support pieces, you can attach as many BakuNano as you want during a battle in addition to your 1 other support piece. At the end of a battle, BakuNano are completely removed from the game. Unless you have a Mechtogan in battle, in which case your BakuNano will be sent to your use pile. Mechtogan Surge also introduced Mechtogan, which are support pieces that, despite looking extremely menacing, function pretty much identical to BakuNano. You can play a Mechtogan during a battle if its attribute is the same as your battling Bakugan. You open the Mechtogan by placing it on its metal activator card, which gives your Bakugan the G-Power boost revealed inside. Its main function is to synchronize with BakuNano, allowing them to be sent to your use pile instead of being destroyed at the end of a battle. You can also evolve your Mechtogan mid-battle into its corresponding Mechtogan Titan, giving your Bakugan an even bigger G-Power boost at the cost of taking up both of your support piece slots. Our final support piece, introduced in, you guessed it, Mechtogan Surge. Battlesuits are giant suits for your Bakugan that have a unique effect on gameplay depending on their reference card. Battlesuits can only be used with Bakugan of the same attribute. I feel like I've heard that before. Battlesuits still count as a support piece, but you can have one in your deck in addition to your 2 other support pieces. But you can only use 1 battlesuit per game. Battlesuits are funny because you don't even need the toy. All you need is the reference card. It's just extra plastic. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about the first generation of Bakugan. Like I said in the intro, I'll put any mistakes or things I forgot to mention in the description. And with that said, thanks for watching and keep on brawling. But if you don't subscribe, this juggernaut's gonna get it. Oh, and also, I'm pretty sure the G in G-Power stands for